And let me go ahead and put this phone on mute. And good. All right. Nicholas, go for it, man.
All right. Welcome back to the Targeted Podcast. This is episode 27. And, this week, in honor of Father's Day, I kind of wanted to have just a panel discussion with some friends who are also fathers. And, just kind of, talk about a few things, just reminisce on fatherhood and talk about, the impact that it's had on us, how it's changed us, and pretty much just provided people with a positive image of all the Black fathers out here. I feel like we're a good representation of that. All these guys are upstanding gentlemen. We're all have jobs, all great fathers, married, all that good stuff. So sit back and enjoy, y'all. I'll introduce everybody.
Yeah.
So we got Jay. What happened?
Go for it. Keep going. Go. Go ahead.
All right. All right. So we've got Jason, we've got Randy, and we've got Javier. And so I appreciate y'all giving us an hour of your time to talk about this fatherhood thing, man. And everybody sit back and enjoy.
Yeah. No, thank you guys for coming on the phone. Coming on. Can you guys hear me? I'm a little glitchy right now, so let me try to close some things out.
I hear everybody good.
Good. Good.
I'm not
Nice to
looking
have you
right
on. I
into the
want to say
camera. I'm actually watching my 1-year-old.
Hey, if you're a parent out here, you're always pulling double duty somehow, some way, man. So
right.
You got the remote in your hand too.
Yeah.
Are you watching the game
I
too?
do. It's real out here. You don't do one thing at one time anymore.
No.
When
Man, we're gonna
little ones start walking around, like it gets different.
Okay. No, I wanted to say congratulations also to our colleague of ours. So Omar, someone who helped us start this channel, he just had a little girl like a week ago. Or was it a little boy?
Shout out to Omar, man. Yeah, that's why if anybody's wondering, that's why he hasn't been on the past couple of episodes, because they've been waiting, and she just gave birth not too long ago. So they're enjoying all that newborn, no sleep, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys a super hard-hitting question off the right? Assuming your wives are listening, right? The mothers are listening and the kids are listening. What do you want for Father's Day? Here's your opportunity right now.
Prior to the baby coming, I've been very fortunate in life, and I say my wife asked me what I want. I say anything that don't cost me money. Like don't whatever's the cheapest thing. Just give me a card. I can sit there. You don't gotta buy me a gift. I go nowhere. You can spend money on all that. Just don't spend no money, and I'm good.
Yeah, I always tell my wife I always tell my wife the same thing every year. She's like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I just want to wake up on my own, and I just want some time to myself. Just give me some time on a PlayStation. Let me get that."
Don't you get that like every night?
No, I do not. No, I do not. Like when you said you beat Final Fantasy VII in like a month or whatever, I was like, it'd probably take me 2 years.
All right, Javier, let them know.
Man, sleeping in is good too. For Father's Day, to be honest with you, it's gonna sound cliche, but just hearing my kids say "I love you" at any point is kind of enough. I don't necessarily need a reward or a gift to be appreciated as a father. I get enough of that. So, but I'm not complaining when I do get gifts.
Okay. That's great. All right, Mr. Randy Payne.
You guys are better men than me. I like when they give stuff for golfing. When they give me stuff for golfing.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, this year I definitely threw out a few hints to the wife about a grill, so she did hook a brother up with the ceramic grill. So I do appreciate that.
Oh man, that's good. So, second question for you guys. So we're trying not to get into some of the more deeper conversations because that's going to be safe for a separate topic. But as you know, today Juneteenth now officially a holiday, right? You guys are all Black fathers, right? You're raising Black kids, right? What do you think? Do you think the changing climate in this, or is the climate changing in this country where you think you would educate or raise your kids any differently? Does that make any sense?
You mean climate? You mean politically, socially?
As in where we are now. So think about Juneteenth like being like a holiday now, right? Does that affect the way you raise your kids at all, or do you still? We're gonna have another conversation about like the conversation with you raising a Black child, right? Like, let me ask you that. Like, do you plan on having a conversation, with you with your kid being raising a Black kid, right? Do you have a certain time frame of when that's going to happen, or whether you should or shouldn't do it?
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
I mean, I think it would be a mistake for anybody of any race not to have early discussions about these things with their children, particularly for minorities or people that are marginalized groups. It's always been a conversation in the Black community. At some point, there's usually some form of conversation to having with even your parents. I think things have just been made more obvious as of recent years in terms of the reasons why to do those things.
Yeah.
I think the challenges of all of us discussing those things are, I mean, every individual Black person's experience is different, so that conversation may even come out different between each father. And even for me, I think there were, we come from a fair skinned family with a lot of, there's a lot of difficult history in our family in regards to our African American heritage and even colorism within the Black community. And then also, I married a Hispanic woman who's Dominican. So there's, I'm already, I don't want to say worried, but even just from the standpoint of how do I explain our own racial heritage, our own skin tone to my child, and now to, how am I going to explain, I was confused for years, as most kids are, in terms of what does it mean to be any color, So I think even for white America, I think it would be a mistake not to have these discussions with your children, and just that things aren't going to get any better unless everybody does.
Okay. Yeah. No, great.
No, I feel you with that. I think with the Juneteenth thing, I mean, I was always going to teach my kids what that was and what it meant, holiday or not. But as far as the conversation is concerned, I think it's something I mentioned in an earlier episode. But the wife and I debate about that all the time because she wants to talk about it like right away, and I feel like if you talk about it too early, I feel like you take the child's innocence away. And I think for me that would be difficult to do. But I want them to look at the world. I want them to have that innocent look at the world, right? I want them to talk to people, make friends without thinking about whether or not that person will like them because of the color of their skin, or without first considering the color of the skin of the person that they want to be friends with or that they're talking to, right? So I have an internal struggle about that, because I know at some point it's going to have to happen, but I think for me, I'd probably wait until they have a question for me, or when I feel like or if they start asking questions, if they say like, I noticed that, I'm, Johnny's white and, I'm darker, like what made me that way, or something like that, like, try to get into it like that instead of just talking about it like from the get-go.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, raising I have two black boys right now, the oldest being 5 and just kind of turning 5 recently, but even in preschool, sometimes they're exposed to a lot of things way earlier than we would expect them to be. I mean, when he was 3 or 4, he came home and started doing some identification, and somebody told him that he was black, he wasn't white, and then we started having these identity kind of conversations at that age, to a level of understanding that he could kind of roll with, as he's getting older and being more exposed to just diversity everywhere. Those conversations have to be had. I mean, there's a perception of how they are going to act out in the world that, they don't control that narrative. So teaching them how they may be perceived in different geographical areas in the country or the world, or by different, kind of demographics of people, I think it's critically important to communicate that to them kind of upfront as they get of age, so they can, just play defense a little better, or at least be aware of kind of what's going on. Just being exposed to, other Black children, especially, in certain areas, as we become more educated, we often are kind of in neighborhoods that aren't really representative of our race, our culture, or what have you. So just being around people that look like them, instilling confidence in them, that they are, enough. There's nothing different from, them and an individual of another race, but there are some underlying issues in this world that we just have to talk about, understand, and move forward with. And, my kids have different personalities, so the way that you communicate that message may be different depending on the kid as well. So that's just something to be mindful of. You have to articulate it different for each kid. So
have you thought about like what you would say? Like for me, I assume like all of us had some version of the conversation at some point with our parents, right?
Right.
And the main message that I always got was, you're going to have, because of you're Black or whatever, like you're going to have to work harder to get the same level of recognition as your counterparts, right? And so that's the one thing that I took from their conversation with me that I'm definitely going to try to instill in my kids, in addition to whatever message that I want to give them too. So have you guys ever thought about like the things that you would want to say to them when you do have the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's standard issue. You have to communicate that. We're always, unfortunately, in a lot of situations or scenarios, we're going to be overlooked or not fully appreciated or recognized for some of our efforts. But, again, it's going back to that confidence and instilling in them that you are doing things right. You are, doing what you need to do. You just have to, it's the way of the world. The majority usually wins in a lot of situations. And that's not just from a race thing, that's from a popularity thing. If a lot of people are saying product A is great and only like a handful of people are saying product B is great, you're automatically probably going to go with product A, regardless of the research you intend to do on your own. So yeah, I'll let somebody else speak on it as well.
Yeah.
I agree. It's going to be a conversation, and part of that, just for me, for myself, I think you know, beyond the hurdles that you're going to have to go is you not setting limitations upon yourself, you know, not letting someone else's idea or their imagination or their ceiling be, you know, placed upon you, you know. You know, the most, you know, I think, you know, all of us seem to come from relatively healthy households from what I know, with good guidance and good examples of not of beyond just having to overcome those hurdles, but you know, we've been fortunate to see direct examples of those. At least I know I have, and Nick has. You know, I don't know your guys' background very well, but you know, I think a huge part of that is the exposure that you give to your kids within your own race. You know, to see those examples, because there are going to be times where people try and place their own limitations on you, um, and you know, just like anything else, you can't be a victim to that. And then also, you know, I think a big part of it is being internally driven. You know, I think because you're gonna, as you face these hurdles, you're gonna have to be internally driven to bypass or overcome those things, because there's going to be people trying to, whether it be unintentionally or intentionally, hold you back, and you can't be your motivation can't come from, you know, outside sources. Ultimately, it's going to have to be you to make that decision. But as a parent, I mean, I'm a new parent. I'm thinking back to how our parents raised us. Was, you know, a lot of our motivation to strive and to overcome or to do these things people said we couldn't do was the foundation they laid for us in our early age, to understand that it was number one, it was expected for us to do. There's an expectation. And also, you know, that, like I said, reinstilling that confidence, and then understanding that, you know, it's up to you at the end of the day. You know, I'm sure we'll talk more about this, about the things that we all went through, or what have you. But you know, I remember vividly a number of the reasons why, um, you know, me and my siblings were able to get to where we are, and a lot of that was the examples that were provided, and then being understood that it's going to have to come from us, you know.
Oh, great point. Yeah, a little about myself too. So, I'm the son of immigrants, right? So both my parents are Nigerian, and they never gave me the talk. Um, and I had to learn that one the hard way. So definitely, it's definitely great that you guys are even thinking about that. Jason, you as a new parent, right? You're thinking about that, and you guys have that talk. Of course, my family, different background, right? They're immigrants. They kind of came in after the civil rights movement, and because of the civil rights is the reason why they're able to come over to the United States, right? So, kind of a background, but even so, it's important to kind of have that conversation, because finding out the hard way could be um, um, troubling, right? It's a, it's a wake up call, right? It's like, wait, why haven't I gotten what I deserved? Oh, that's unfortunate. So, yeah, it's great that you guys are doing that. So, Jason, you mentioned that you are a new father. Congratulations. Let me ask you this: how has that changed you? And I'll ask that to the rest of the guys as well. How's that changed you?
Well, I think, you know, the quick answer is obviously, you know, this happens when you get married. You're thinking beyond yourself, you know. You know, you're all of your priorities are shifted, um, to care for the whole. Because you know, um, it's almost a similar feeling as to when I got married, as I'm adding another person to my family.
Mhm.
Particularly as a man, you're supposed to be the protector, the provider. So, you know, a lot of times when we talk amongst our friends and we say all these things, and even to younger people, I'll say, you know, life. I think there's this idea that things are going to get easier. You know, like when I finally graduate, I'm gonna have a job. It'll be easier. I'll finally get a salary. It'll be easier. Or, you know, and it only it's weird because your life is simultaneously getting better and harder. So I had a kid and my life got better and it was harder immediately, you know? But I think it's a combination of difficulty, responsibility, but the happiness that, you hope all that stuff balances out, So it feels early on, it feels similar to that, taking that step from, I can no longer think for myself. You're dividing your care amongst your tribe, and you just try and do the best you can. And then I think, just trying to take examples from everyone. I think everyone has something to offer, regardless of their age. New fathers, old fathers, young, old. Even poor information is something to offer. To know not what to do. So I wouldn't dismiss anyone's opinion. You listen to it and figure out, is it good and accurate and useful, or is it something that this person doesn't know what they're talking about? But this is more responsibility, but it's more love in your life and more happiness. And I think for kids aren't for everybody, but marriage isn't for everybody. I don't think everyone's life is painted the same, but it's a path that all of us chose to take. And I think for the most part, when you do it right, it's enriching and happiness and a different level of fun, for you. So I'm happy.
Yeah. Same question to the rest of you guys. Jason, maybe you can take some lessons from Randy about how to multitask. Got the kid on one end.
Well, they're down.
I just doing it all.
Brother, I do what I gotta do. That's it. On my toes here.
I saw his face and everything about it too. It's like that's amazing.
Man,
okay, but
as soon as we
let me ask you,
all hell broke loose over here.
So all right, so let me ask you, how is having kids changed you?
I think just from this recording, you can tell I don't like taking my eyes off my kids.
Yeah.
I always like having an eye on my kids. I feel like it gave me a instant intuition, and I love it because it's an age and everything. Like I can see things before they happen, and I never had that before I had kids.
Now is that what it is?
That
it's like a superpower. Yeah, I'm serious. It's like a superpower. Like I see things before they happen.
Randy's an
regular basis.
Hey, y'all heard it here first. Y'all heard of mother's intuition. We got dad tuition. Don't discount it. Don't discount it.
You guys got superpowers.
Yeah. But yeah, just like what Jason said, along with that, it's the responsibility. Great powers come great responsibility. Like, I can see things before they happen, but that puts it back in my lap again. It's my job to listen to myself. Certain things happen. And it's thinking about more than just yourself. That's really what it is. Every time you have a new member of your family, that multiplies. So,
okay.
This is my second time around, and it's not like starting from scratch. The first one, like I said, that intuition came. I say from the hospital.
Wow, that's dope.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Man, for me, I kind of growing up like a lot of men did. I was like, I don't want to be married. I don't want to have kids. And you find somebody that you fall in love with, and it's like, all right, you step up and have kids. And for me, it taught me a lot about myself, and that I didn't really know that I had the capacity in my heart to care that much for another individual. And then having multiple kids, like, man, that it's just a strong bond connection, and the way that they kind of look at you and idolize you, and they just think you're everything, especially at the young age. So it really kind of changes your perception of yourself. It allowed me to really just kind of look within, and patience. I've been a pretty patient person for the most part, but for certain things, I was always like, get up and go, not have to really check in or tell anybody. Can't do that with kids. You got to really make sure that they're good before you make sure yourself is good. So for me, it's just, teaching me a lot about myself and the way that I approach things. Patience, because my oldest one is just like me. He looks just like me, acts just like me. And when I was his age, he does like we have the same mannerisms. And it's hard like disciplining him because when I look at him, I see me at his age. So, it's just wild. But, that's kind of what, at a high level, what is really what has changed in me is just the capacity to express love and those deeper connections and really mold and be a role model to them and kind of facilitate their interest and help foster that.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely so Javier basically said what I was gonna say. It was just like when you have a kid, it unlocks like a higher capacity of love that maybe you didn't know you had, right? Like when you get married, like you love your wife, but at the same time, like your wife is your partner. You know that your wife can take care of herself. With the child, they're looking at you for everything. And they're looking at you to teach them everything. And I have 2 daughters. So for me, it also meant that like I'm the first man that they meet in their life. And, now I have to step up in a way that shows them like what a man is supposed to be like. I'm that initial representation of that. And that's something that I've really come to take very seriously. As far as like, what, the way they see me treat their mother, how I treat them, things of that nature. So yeah, and then the other thing too is just you immediately learn how to reprioritize some things. So I think having kids has made me realize I was pretty selfish before. And so, but it's like, I don't mind giving that up, right? Now I think about them first. I think about like even those days where, I've been working and I'm tired and I don't feel like being bothered. And it's like, Daddy, come play with us. And it's like, at first I was like, God, just leave me alone. But then you realize they really just want 15, 20 minutes because their attention span at least not at this point, isn't very long, right? You just give them that little bit of time and they're just happy. And when you see them come up and when my daughters come and give me a hug or just say, thank you, Daddy, or whatever, like that's everything right there. That just makes everything all worth it. So definitely that capacity to love and then just reprioritizing things and thinking of others first, for sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jason. You want to say something?
I think the point about being selfish too is I think it teaches you the things that are beyond obvious selfishness. I mean, it's obviously selfish to just want to go out and have fun and do things on your own terms. Those are very obvious things, but yeah, and this is similar. When I got married, it teaches you the things that are more subtle from being selfish, meaning something like how you eat, am I eating in a healthy manner? I might have a drink every night. It's kind of selfish, so you start thinking about what that means. If you're not taking your health seriously, not morally, if you're not being a good partner or whatever, you're in I've said this before about my wife. If I don't try and work out and be healthy, I'm dishonoring my wife by not being here to make sure I'm around and healthy and being for her. So I'm being selfish in that manner. So it's not just about partying and having fun. It's, how bad am I speeding in my car when I'm driving when I don't need to be? I might not be racing, but am I putting my life at danger? I'm being selfish. What if something happens to my family? So it teaches you those more subtle things about, it's not just about partying or wanting to date or whatever. It's, should I, what type of food am I eating? Fast food every day? Like that's selfish, for your kids, because you're providing a poor example and you're potentially saying, I don't need to be here around for you. I don't need to be healthy for you.
Yeah. Start thinking about the big picture, right?
Yeah, no. Back to like Nicholas was saying about him being a father of 2 girls. I totally picture Nicholas like having tea parties with his little girls. all pinkness going around or whatever with the pink
That's exactly what's going on. Listen, like every day, it's I get a tea party every day, man. So we've got the lavender couch in the girls' playroom, and you got the tables and the tea sets, and we got the snacks. We got the cupcakes. So I mean, we're eating.
What's your favorite tea, Nick? What's your favorite tea?
whatever they pour up in that imaginary cup, man.
You don't request something?
Every once in a while, I'll be like, give daddy some ginger tea. Like, okay.
Let me ask you this. Obviously, there was Nicholas, you have girls. I don't know what the other gentlemen have, like boys or girls, but how do I frame this question without getting you guys in trouble? Is there a preference between girls and boys? Are you happy? Do you guys want more kids or? Yeah.
That's dangerous, man.
Yeah, I'm not married. I don't have any kids, so I don't know how to frame that for you guys.
Well, I'll say this.
Boys or girls?
I started out, I was like, I want a son. That's all, just give me a son and I'm good. But having girls it's something different. It's they say like it softens you up or whatever, but it does. Like now I'm just like I'm just a big old softie, and it's like, but having them is teaching me more about how to treat women better, be more understanding and respectful of what women go through, have to deal with, because now I have to think about what they're going to, as they grow up, what they're going to go through. And being young Black women, I mean, there's already, you have to deal with image issues, you have to deal with the stereotypes of how Black women are portrayed in media, and I have to consider that. So so having two daughters now, man, it's just like, it's the Black girl magic thing is real. Like they really do have a big effect on you. Like I think I would be a different. I don't think I would have changed as much if I had two boys. I think this was needed for me. So
nice.
I
want the record to show right quick that Nicholas called himself a big old softie.
Hey, yeah, man.
Bro, we've known Nick.
Everyone, big old softie.
We've known Nick's been soft since college, man. Let's be.
The record was big old softie.
Don't worry, I edit these videos, so you may or may not.
It's live though, so it's all out there.
More time for the video, big old softie.
Yeah. Anyone else dare to answer that question?
Sure. I mean, I think every man wants a son, right? So I'm very happy that I do have two sons, but it was not, I don't have a preference. I just recently we had a daughter born about a month ago.
Oh, congratulations.
And, thank you. The kind of the running joke here in the household, or just, with other family members, is definitely shoot to have a girl, because those are the ones that are really going to take care of you when you get older.
Heard that.
Be like, man, you got it. Like, we're out, whatever. But I will say, just in general, being a parent is a heavy responsibility. You add the fact that you're raising a Black son or a Black daughter, it's also a very heavy responsibility. So having two sons and then a daughter, it's I enjoy it both, but you really have to be mindful about how you present yourself to the world, how you interact with your friends, and what you are portraying to them, because they are always watching. And even when I don't think they're watching, they're watching. Like my son will start repeating certain phrases or sayings that I say, and I'm like, oh, they pick up on things quick. TV, media, like there's all these kid shows that are pumping out commercials, and they're very receptive to that. So, again, I love having sons. I'm going to love the daughter when she, I love the daughter now. It's not like I'm going to love the daughter. I love the daughter now. She is in the NICU, but she is not home. So that's what I'm saying. When she gets home and we have, more intimate and constant interaction, it's definitely going to be great. But, I love it all. So I have the best of both worlds. So no complaints from me.
Great answer. Very political.
I don't know about all that. I think that when you talk about what you want, I think it's easy to visualize what you are, so if you're a traditional guy playing sports, roughhousing, stuff like that, it's easy for you to visualize doing that with a boy. So I don't necessarily know that means you want a boy more. It's just easy to project to that, and thinking of having a girl, it's like, okay, well, how am I gonna play with her and do all these things? So I don't, like you said, I think all dads are happy with whether they have a boy or a girl. It's just prior to them getting there, you're like, and that's just life. It's easier to relate to something similar to you,
Absolutely.
Well, I'll say this, before the baby was born, you find out your wife is pregnant, and my first thought was oh man, hope it's a boy or whatever. But then as time goes on, you think more about well, I just want a healthy child. As long as the baby's healthy, I don't care. So I kind of changed a little bit with that too.
Right. I remember thinking healthy for both. That's really all I wanted. But I'm so happy. I got a boy, and I have a little girl now, and I feel like I had the best of both worlds. So, as far as having more kids, if it happens, it's great. But right now, I'm really happy. I feel like I got both sides of yin and the yang now. I can see from both perspectives. At least my little girl from a very young perspective. But more to come.
Yeah.
Both of them it's like two different rides,
Yeah.
I gotta get to relive myself with my son, or through my son, and my little girl's a part of me. So I get to see it now from a female perspective. I just think the whole thing is dope.
Has she turned into the daddy's girl yet, or is she still attached to mom?
My kids always stay with me. They're always with me. And they know it.
Actually, Randy, you touched on something a little bit too about more kids. Well, that was actually going to be a question for later on. If more kids come, then so be it. But let me ask the rest of you guys, right? Do you guys want more kids? 12 years.
3 is good. Once you get past 3, you talking about different type of cars, situations. You got a plan for that. If you want a babysitter, it's like, hey, can you take on? Or you're gonna have to start dividing and shipping out if you want to do that. I'm content with 3. That's just me though. I mean, if more come, cool, but I'm gonna do what it takes to not have any more.
I say, I can do one more, but after that, I'm done. It's a wrap.
3's the limit. Okay.
How about the rest 3 is definitely the limit.
Only on the first one, so she wants 4, I want 2, so maybe we'll meet in the middle or something.
4, yeah.
I don't know.
Sir, no sir.
I mean, 4 is not that much more than 3, right? I mean,
financially.
Look, that's a different dinner table.
That's a different thing about going on vacation. Like right. My friend has, he's got 3 kids as well, and he was telling me when they go on vacation, I mean, it's not as simple as, hey, here's the hotel room, boom, we pile up in there. Like now, some of the places are like, no, you got to get the suite, you got to get the penthouse, you got to get 2 rooms, or you want to go on a flight, you got to get that row.
I like that Javier made it very tangible. He said, that's a different car, that's a different dinner table.
Exactly. That's a minivan. I mean, for sure. Yep. At the minimum.
Yeah. Speaking of minivan, Nicholas, you gonna get that minivan soon?
I told you that's not happening, man. I told you that's not happening. We have
buying that minivan?
We have the 3-row SUV, and we're very happy with that. It's got adjustable seats, and that's it. Will be no van.
Sienna, that Nissan Quest minivans. Okay, let me ask you guys this. So you guys alluded to this a little bit earlier about media. Are you worried about your kids? And it might be early for you guys, but are you worried about your kids and social media? Right? You know, there's a lot going on in social media. A lot of the trends that happen. I mean, I'm on Instagram a lot too, and like you see some TikTok people, some of the trends there. It's like, what? These are kids, right? So like, does that worry you at all? I assume that's going to affect how you teach your kids, right? Because social media is always in your face, present, like now, right? It's totally different from back when we were young, right? Where we can we can say something, make a mistake, and we can live it down, right? Trolling, making fun of your kids on a different level now, right? So, do you guys worry about that? Any plan, strategy?
Absolutely. And I could talk for like an hour and some change on this. You know, everybody that's on video right now is old enough to see the before and after of what we know is like today's internet, right? Like even pre-dial-up, it was widely available to, you know, broadband, to mobile devices. Like we have a direct experience of kind of before, after, and the differences. Social media is scary to me for kids to have exposure at a young age, because to me, and this is my opinion, it creates kind of a false sense of reality, and it creates, you know, false prophets. You know, J. Cole reference there. You know, we idolize kind of the wrong things, or we idolize what we deem to be real, and it's not. You know, everybody on social media or has a platform, you know, they are really behind the monetization of themselves or the image that they wish to portray in an attempt to create traffic to drive to, you know, their status, platform, profile. And kids aspire to be this. And I think we are just the technology behind it, the algorithms, kind of what you search, what you look for, what's presented to you based on that, and kind of what they keep feeding is very detrimental. So, you know, going back to parenting, man, you have to really be that role model for your kid and really explain to them what's going on, what they see. You know, TV, you know, you cut that on and off, and you can watch TV with your child. There's a reason why a lot of these tech giants and tech CEOs limit their own children from being exposed to technology for great lengths of time. There's a reason why there is, you know, 13, which to me is still kind of too young to be on social media. There's a reason that those age limits are in place. So for me, it's really explaining to them this is kind of an alternate reality, and you know, this is not real. This is not what's going on. And there's great benefits to social media, so you teach them about that too. You know, through social media, we learn so much. We're able to, you know, just from a Twitter standpoint, kind of get trending and seasonality on certain events, certain things that are, you know, massacres that are happening. You can be forewarned of that. Black Lives Matter protests, you know, George Floyd, all of this is being exposed through social media, and is bringing a lot of things that would go unnoticed to light as well. So there's definitely a gift and a curse to it, but really just echoing hard early and often about the mishaps that can happen as a result of social media, cyberbullying, etc.
Mm-hmm. No. What about you guys?
I think that social media, at least in my house, it's kind of like the TV. I can pull the plug on it when I want. You know, it's a tool, and I think it should be used, you know, like that. You know, what's kind of cool about social media that, you know, is not on TV is the programming part. I program what we watch on that social media or don't watch. You know, so I want my kids to know that too. You know, social media is a great tool. It's a great marketing tool. If you're putting a resume out, you know, it's great for reaching out. But I feel like, you know, it becomes a greater control to control my household and my environment.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the first thing I thought about, so I definitely agree that I would definitely teach them that it's a tool. It's a great networking tool, and it's a way to get information depending on who and what you follow, right? So I definitely try to give them good social media like sources, I guess, to follow. But the first thing I thought about too was just, as they get older and they want and inevitably get their own accounts on different things is cyberbullying, right? So it's, you read the stories about kids who, when we were going to school, I can't believe I said it like that, like back when I was in school, right? But if somebody was getting bullied, right, it's, once you leave school, that was it. And now, the bullying is like 24/7. If the person, decides to make it so, right, they could follow you. And then not only are they following you, then they get, all their friends in on it and, boom, like you blow up, right? And so, you hear stories about kids, committing suicide over this type of stuff and harming themselves over this type of stuff. So I think that's my main worry is that. And I hope to at least communicate to the kids that, hey, like, turn it off at some point. Like, don't just, put your phone down. Like, it's definitely going to be times in the house where, there are no phones, right? Like, eating dinner together is a thing here for me personally, right? Like, we have to eat dinner together. We put down the phone, we talk as a family. The kids are old enough to talk and interact with the family. Since it's a pandemic now, we have, my youngest is still taking naps, but the oldest she's old enough to not really want to take naps anymore. So, now she understands that, hey, like, okay, now it's quiet time. Now I need to find something to do or look at and not just be on TV or tablet or whatever. Like, so I think if you get them in that habit of learning to turn it off so they don't feel like they have to have it, then I think that'll benefit them.
I feel like it's so limiting because, like, my son recently got into video games, which I think is really cool, to a certain extent, because that's all he wants to do. And I'm like, there's so many other things. Like, it's crazy when you can. I've restricted him from video games, right? But just from video games, there's so many other things that he can do around the house. He can still watch TV. He can still read. I want his mind to be open to doing stuff like that. Not just, I'm going to sit around and play video games all day or sit around and watch TV, nonstop. Like, hey, even at this point, he's on summer vacation and I assign him things to do. Hey, read 4 chapters today and I want you to go through 4 chapters in your math book. And you got all day long to do it,
right.
Which I feel like is actually a pretty adult decision of, utilizing your time. But I just don't want him sitting around and vegging out or just thinking that, he's going to play video games all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. As they say, the idle mind is the devil's workshop. So, yeah, man.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, I
Jason,
think they I agree with everything everyone says. I think the biggest, I won't go long. I just think when is it appropriate to introduce these things, and then just trying to limiting all the things that everyone has mentioned. I think one of the I think there is a balance of slowly bringing that into their lives, but also letting them be kids. I think I don't you don't want them to grow up too fast, but I think everyone what technology in general has done, whether you're talking about social media specifically, it's just taken away the ability to be a child. And a lot of times when I think my brother's doing a great job. He has the oldest kids of us, and I watch his kids play. And a lot of times you don't see kids actually play anymore. Like, whether you're in like you said, you're at your tea set or whatever, your little kitchen, or even when we were kids, we'd run outside and play and use our imagination. I think people forget those are like your imagination needs to be developed. Those are things that turn into something else as an adult. As a child, if I can imagine being a hero or being, or whatever, being Superman, or, these things that are imagination turn into confidence and hope as an adult, and the belief, I believe I can be Superman in terms of I believe I can get that job. I believe even though this is hard, I can do that, it allows you to project, from a child, projecting to be these things allows you as an adult to project that you can reach and accomplish these things. And as like you said, as we introduce social media, it's flooding you immediately. You don't, there's things right there that you don't have to, your brain doesn't have to necessarily function for. It's not stimulating your imagination per se. I mean, there's TV shows and kid shows that are supposed to do that, but I wouldn't want my kid to lose being a child and developing things. I made a joke the other day about believing in Santa Claus. I mean, it's silly, but there's something about having an imagination and the belief that something is out there that I think transitions to your adult brain into something else that's healthy. And then, like you said, just the fear of them, being allowed to live, to fail, to face rejection, everything right at your fingertips. You never have to face rejection. You never have to get this. Everything is immediately available to you. You can ascertain anything with the second. The moment you meet rejection, you're going to curl up into a ball and not be able to how to deal with that. I think that's what a lot of people are saying. They're having trouble facing the realities of a world because they've been given this false sense of reality, and when they have to face reality, they can't deal with it.
That's a great point. I think just not just for kids, but everyone needs to understand with social media, right? You put like what people want you to see, right? That's only a snapshot of someone's life, and it's the best part. It's their highlight reel, right, of what you want to see, right? There was a huge joke about this on social media a couple of days ago, where this influencer, she took a picture of herself in business class, but then someone else caught her in the economy class, like same flight, right? But it just kind of tells you we just do it for clout, right? So yeah, definitely it's going to be tough for kids, right, with social media. That's going to be its own.
I think the elephant that we all haven't talked about is that with this last year being stuck in the house, social media has kind of run rampant. Yeah,
that's coming next. So the question is like, it's been how's it been different being a parent during the pandemic, right, this year, right? I mean, I can make jokes about all the pandemic babies that I've been having. Like a couple people want. I have 2 members on my team that are on maternity leave, right?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, Omar just had a kid. Another good friend of ours having a kid. So, I'm sure that's one aspect. But other aspect is like you raising kids at home. Like, how has that changed? And I imagine this is a different answer for different people because different ages for kids. But out of curiosity, like, how has that changed you? How have you adjusted? I remember talking to Nicholas about this a lot, where he stays up late just to get work done. Because during the day, he's a father, right? So, curiosity for the rest of you guys. How has that changed you, the pandemic?
I'm gonna say I love it. I love the aspect that a lot of us that never thought that we would get to homeschool actually getting to homeschool. I see the stress that brings on, but on the same token, I'm glad mine is at home as opposed to at school. I do see how it has affected him. And what I'm doing to help him with that is I got to get him more involved. I got to get him involved in, sports or just something that gets him outside the house. Because I couldn't imagine, we never had anything like this when we were kids. I couldn't imagine being stuck in the house for a year. So. And just imagine what some of these kids are going through.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big change, right? Because you're used to before the pandemic, right? Your day was different. You get up, you maybe you go to the gym, maybe you don't, and then you go to work, and then you come back, and you pick up your kid from daycare, and it's like you only really had to be a full-time parent on the weekend, right? And now they're here every day, and I mean, they don't care that you have to work. They don't care what responsibilities you have. You know, what are we gonna do today? You know what I mean? And it's like, nothing. You know, sometimes you would say that, but you know, mine are at the age where, you know, my oldest is she'll be 4 in September, so being at daycare really helped her social skills, right? She had made friends. You know, she liked her teachers, and you know, we got to the point in the pandemic where she was like, I want to go back. Like, I'm tired of being home. I want to go back. I miss my friends. And you know, that was, you know, well, first I couldn't believe that she was telling me that, for one, you know, but then it was just like, you know, it made me want to, you know, try to do more with her, I guess. And so I think that's been the challenge, is just like, you know, I have work to do. You know, I gotta, you know, keep the icon green, right? So people know I'm online, but then I'll have to find a way to entertain her as well. And it's sometimes it's been a struggle, and it was definitely a period where I was not. I mean, I might even get, you know, 4 or 5 hours of sleep, so I had to find a way to get more sleep. And but the positive with it is that I do feel like I've grown closer to the kids, especially with my youngest. I feel like we bonded with her a little more. And with my oldest, I feel like we have a better relationship, because now it's, you know, she tells me more. Sometimes she might say, hey, Daddy, I got a secret to tell you, or something like that. And it's just been cool, like watching that relationship grow. So I definitely have an appreciation for it, as difficult as it's been to keep them entertained and not just put them in front of the TV. You know, definitely we're doing a lot of puzzles here and different little mind games and stuff like that to keep them engaged.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, when we were talking about social media, I feel like that's a key point, you know, kind of what you said, but just making sure that the dialogue stays open, you know, with the social media. That's my purpose in shutting it off at a certain time, you know, because like you said, most of it is solitary, and they do it on purpose. So, you know, that isolation is no good.
Yeah.
That's the point where the cyberbullying can exist, because they're never off the internet, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's rough. Yeah. Javier, Jason, I know Jason, you just had a kid this year, but
Yeah, he's only 2 months and a couple of weeks, so it hasn't really affected us much. My wife she works from home, which happened because of the pandemic, but he's laying there and peeing and pooping, and so you know, my mom comes over and watches him so she can work, which would have been the plan had she been going to the office. It hasn't, fortunately for us, it hasn't affected us much, other than us having to had been very safe during the pregnancy.
Pretty much the same. I mean, we were kind of homebodies anyway. So as far as just like eating out or going out to heavily populated places, we weren't doing much of that. The kids did like going to the park and things like that. So we calmed down on that. But I mean, they still play outside. It was initially rough in the beginning when we took them out of daycare. My wife was actually still working at her physical locations, and I was working from home. So every time I was on like a video meeting call, they think I'm FaceTiming somebody, so they want to pop in on the screen and say hey. But for the most part, just after kind of the first and second week of when everybody's working at home and getting readjusted, I think everybody just had a solid understanding that everybody's in the same boat as far as kids are concerned. And then you start adding in just some structure, based on what your day at work looks like, and then based on kind of what you want the kids or need the kids to do, and showing that they're maintaining some form of learning and development. But for the most part, nothing too different.
Man, I'm not gonna lie, I definitely got to the point where I was tired of having them here every day. I'll just be honest. So it was like, because you just get to your breaking point. I mean, you just do. I'm gonna be real about that.
Yeah.
And me and the wife definitely went back and forth about when to put them back in daycare. So we just started them back about a month ago, maybe. And I've been worried ever since because, like, they're going to bring something home, and, I don't know. And then even then I'm like, 2 days a week, like no more than that. You know what I mean? So I got 2 productive days. Right. But I got to have it, because if not, I mean, they'd be driving me up the wall. So
definitely understandable. We put ours back in a while ago, towards the end of last year.
Yeah.
The daycare opened back up, and they highlighted the precautions that they were going through. We were pretty comfortable with it. We of course let them kind of reopen for a few months before we decided to go back in. But luckily, nothing serious, no scares, and everything is pretty cool there.
Yeah, I thought it was funny that the kids. So when you go back to school, there's certain age groups that are in there, right?
Right.
All the kids that are 2-3 years old, they're in daycare.
Yeah.
The kids that were like my youngest age, about 1-ish, they're still at home.
Yeah.
But I thought that was funny. And who's getting on your nerves the most.
That's funny. Okay, well, last question of the night for you guys. What's the importance your father played in your life, right? And how have you or will you partake that to your kid? So what's the importance of your father in your life, and how are you going to partake that? Like, what are the specific lessons that you've learned from your father? I can go first in this one too, where my dad always used to tell me, one of the things that I remember is that if you look for the bad in someone, you'll always find it, right? And it's easier to kind of try to look for the good in somebody. Much harder to do that in this stage. In this age, world.
Is there any good in anybody anymore?
It's like it's just the bad is so easy to find, but that's what I've learned from my father. So I'm like, out of curiosity, like, what idioms or things have you learned from your father, and how have you and do you plan on passing that on?
I'll go first because my baby's actually getting hungry. I gotta hurry up and get out of here. So,
okay.
there's I'm gonna try and make it quick. There's probably three things that always come to our mind. The first one was, I think that your parents they're always focused on telling you, what should I tell you to do, and we learned. I've learned the majority of what I learned just watching my parents, watching how they interacted. I said that my parents don't have it's not like their marriage is perfect. They fight like everyone else, but they never disrespected each other. They're not cursing. We grew up in a household where even arguing was, no one's screaming at anyone. So a lot of what I learned from both my parents was more, just from observation in terms of how do I treat a woman, how am I respectful, or what are your lines, So I think parents forget how much like almost to watching my father had way more effect than things that he told me. He got up and went to work every day, and he just did it, because he knew we had to. I saw that he didn't have to tell me you had to work hard, or you had to take care of your family, or you had to do X, Y, and Z, because he did it and he showed us how to do it. The other thing was that they gave us a very early concept of the importance of education, to where, even like first, second grade, we had this concept of, I need to do my homework so I can get a good job, so I can go to college, so I can, like in elementary school. And I told this story. My father had something the other day about how I remember maybe around the second or third grade, I almost remember crying because I couldn't find my homework. I had never missed a homework assignment before, but to the point is, and I think my siblings feel the same way, that we were never driven to do our homework or to try hard in school because we would get in trouble. or because we couldn't play. We did it even in elementary school thinking because I want to go to college. I'm not even sure if I even really knew what college meant, but there was this idea of something better. So we were in terms of up even till now, So I think the early education and then just leading by example. The last thing, which I'll attribute to my father and my mother's mother, my grandmother, is I would joke. I said I can never understand how my father can always do the right thing. Because even I've seen you guys and I've seen y'all in some situations, and I'm like, I'm such a savage, like I can't understand how, like, I mean, not even trying to be funny, or like you have all these thoughts and all these urges, and like, how's this guy always do the right thing? And then one of our friends who's not here, as I talked to him about this, is the more I started to realize the kindness and the love that I put out in the world, not in a selfish manner, it enriched my life and made me happy. And even in small interactions and talking to someone on the elevator at the gas station, when I was positive and pleasant and felt that I gave you positive energy, I felt better. So it kind of started to make me understand how this man, my mom too, how you guys always make the moral right decision all the time. And I understood that it's in the universe of I'm putting out this positive energy. I don't necessarily need anything monetary back, but or physical or whatever, but it's making me happy to know that I'm putting this positive energy out into the world. So, show your kids what to do, make sure that they know about education at an early age, and then be a good person and you'll be happy. And then I think that's why, our family has been as blessed as they have been.
Oh, that's awesome. Amazing. Anyone else?
I'll go. So yeah,
baby. That's an awkward silence right there.
I was just waiting, somebody.
Oh yeah.
My baby's crying. My baby's crying. I'm gonna take off, but I'll be more than happy to chime in with you guys anytime. But it was a pleasure meeting you, and I wish you guys the best, and I'll look forward to hearing the rest of the conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Jason, for joining. We appreciate it, man.
All right.
Thanks, man. Take care.
Yeah, so similar to what Jason said, I never met or knew my biological father. I kind of grew up with my uncle, taught me a lot, and my uncles in general, by both words and actions. So, the kind of three things that really stand out, and I'll keep it, kind of brief here, but laziness will kill you. Always do what you're going to say. Never procrastinate, really, and that just kind of instilled a strong work ethic. Never put off tomorrow what you can do today. So if you know that something needs to be done, stop pushing it off. And it really alludes to, as long as you kind of work hard, you will always have time to kind of play hard. As long as you're doing what you need to do, that freedom will open up for you. So it's not the weekend and you're like, man, I wish I wish I had time to do this, but I have to do this. Just as a community, I'll say like community parenting, just with my aunts, uncles, my mother, everybody was around. Every time I would go to a family member's house, it was always love and embracing. So just seeing that, and then also seeing examples of what bad parenting is, or what you deem as a child as bad parenting kind of shapes the way that you parent yourself. It's just kind of, I use the analogy of following a recipe, right? Like I want to make a new dish. I usually look up 2 to 3 recipes and I'm like, all right, I'll take that from there, and then I'll add my own spin on it. And that just kind of molds and shapes the way that I parent as well. But those are the things that really stick out. Work hard, play hard, follow your goals. There's really no obstacle to keep you from achieving something if you just keep on it. And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Good ones right there, man. I think from my dad, one was, do what you need to do so you can do what you want to do. Is one. And then always, take, I used to get overwhelmed with like schoolwork and stuff. So he would always tell me to stop and do a little bit at a time. Just chip away at it, do a little bit at a time. And, those two lessons right there, I mean, I've applied those to just about every situation in life up to this point, especially when, I have something big to do or I have a lot of challenges that are coming at me. It's really taught me just to step back, chip away at it, do a little bit at a time so you don't get overwhelmed. And, while you're doing that, you're making progress on it, right? And then, if you do what you need to be doing, then you can get what you want. Because it was when you're in high school or whatever, and you're a young man, you start thinking about them girls, and you ought stick to them books, because the girls are going to be there. All that other stuff that you want is going to be there. As long as you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, then you'll get what you want, because that's what's going to make those things available to you. So those are the two big things.
Right.
I think there needs to be a podcast on just like Black parent catchphrases.
Hey, that would be a good one, man.
Yeah.
I like that. And see, he wears one more, so we can tell him to write that down.
Oh, yeah, you joke about it when he's not even on here. That's funny.
Go ahead, Randy.
Randy.
Yeah, I was gonna say to answer that question. My dad, I can clearly remember him saying, he'll probably still say, whatever you set your mind to is what you can do. And I want to pass that off to my kids for sure. Because like once I realize that, I feel like it's unlimited. Everything's wide open. So definitely want to get that one to my kids.
That's beautiful. Okay, well, that's all I have. I want to say congratulations to you, men. Happy Father's Day. I hope you guys enjoy your day. I hope you get what you want. Niggas, you get some peace and quiet.
You already got my grill, man, so that's all I need.
And for everyone else, it's a happy Father's Day to all our fathers out there.
Hey, likewise, man. Happy Father's Day. Happy official federal first Juneteenth.
Yes, federal Juneteenth.
Yeah, that'll be another podcast for sure. This Juneteenth law. Definitely want to talk about that.
Yeah, they told me like, don't talk about this today because it's gonna go on.
It's been a hell of a day, man. But yeah, I appreciate y'all, joining the podcast and having this conversation with us. This is definitely something that I feel like was we needed to put something like this out there, right? Just to have some of that positive imagery and energy, around Black fathers and fatherhood in general. We're not always portrayed in the best light in media and things like that. You always hear like negative stories. So I think you guys are great examples of what a father could and should be. So I applaud y'all and I appreciate y'all.
All right. And
Nick, thanks for having me on. Javier, congratulations. Thanks the host.
Yeah, thank you all, man. I appreciate it.
Cool. All right, let's call it. I'm gonna stop now. So cool. See you guys.
All right, fellas.
Bye, YouTube. Hold on. Stop YouTube now.
Yes. Get on the YouTube channel and subscribe. Looking at you. Yeah. Looking at you. Get on.
Lewis is looking at you guys. Comment, subscribe.